I see you there. You're trying to write first. You ever notice that guy in the beginning of the comments who always has to write first? Why is that? Hey, Cypher here. It's been a while, hasn't it? That's because I've been in graduate school and it's going great. We're on summer break. I'm going in next fall, around September. So I'm hoping to make these videos about a week apart every time. We'll see how it goes. And over the break, the channel hit 300 subscribers. And now it's quite a bit more than that. Let's hope it keeps going. So that first guy who always has to put the first comment that just says first, it's kind of them trying to put their own claim on the video, aren't they? It's silly and pointless, but it speaks to a deeper human need. You see, when you say first, you're saying, no one has ever done this before, I'm the first. Of course, that does mean that you'd have to know all of history to be able to make that claim, at least properly, but most people are fine with not knowing that and making those kinds of claims. But historians just love to break that whole thing apart. They're historians, it's like their job. But even in the case of first in the comments, we kind of know this not to be true. Because, for instance, when somebody eventually puts first on the comment thread below, they're not going to be the first one to comment about this video. Guaranteed. I know because I've already talked to people about it before even recording. So, when I've talked to friends and they've made comments, technically they're the first ones making comments, they just aren't first in the comment section of YouTube. And nearly everything that says first can be broken down like that. Save for very, very clear ones like who was the first person to walk on the moon, there aren't really clear answers to almost anything that says first. And this runs into a whole realm of words in the English language that are called superlatives. Superlatives are words like best, worst, of course first, but there's also a lot of words that imply superlatives. So if you say somebody invented something, you're very clearly stating somebody was the first to create something and present it to the world. Another word would be something like discovery. That's why when you see historians talking about the discovery of America by Columbus, you often see the word discovery with scare quotes on the side. Those little raptor claws are scare quotes. There's obvious reasons why they do this, because, well, there were people there long before Columbus sailed the ocean blue. But there's also further problems with it, such as Vikings were in the New World nearly half a century before Columbus, but then kind of abandoned it when Leif Erikson just didn't make good use of the colony. And there are also theories about cod fishermen who had made it all the way across the Atlantic, and also Zheng He, who supposedly sailed all the way and found new lands to the east of China. Both the cod fishermen and Zheng He are pretty circumstantial and shouldn't be taken as hard facts at all. But it speaks to a greater problem with just Columbus discovering America. When we say discovering America, we are implying a whole series of qualifiers. Qualifiers are just words that you add to superlatives to try to make it more qualified, hence the word. When people say Columbus discovered America, they're really saying Columbus was a leader of an expedition that sailed across the Atlantic for the first time in recent past, recent being a key word, and popularized the notion of the New World to Europe. That's kind of a lot to say, so most people will simply say Columbus discovered America. I mean, just think about it. Words like discovery and invention imply first. And that's really hard to claim. Look at the video I made a while back about cell phones. I'm sure you can click somewhere. And that just blew apart the whole idea. You have to put a flag somewhere on the continuum of what a cell phone is and say, this is the first, when that's a really, really arbitrary line. Another more recent example would be when people talk about the iPhone being the first smartphone. And that's very, very clearly wrong. But the difference between that sentence and Columbus discovered America is that there were plenty of people using phones like BlackBerries long before the iPhone came around. in 2007, let alone the fact that there were a whole bunch of different OSs that are normally considered smartphones long before BlackBerry. There are a bunch of things that require so many qualifiers that they just no longer make sense. Things like the British Empire was the strongest empire ever, or the Wright brothers invented manned flight. There's so many qualifiers before those that it just doesn't make sense to even say it. But sometimes, at least in the case of Columbus, you just kind of have to go with it because, well, there's no better way of saying it. But you've always got to take a historical superlative with a grain of salt. So tell me what kind of superlatives you've noticed and might want busted. Maybe I can make a video on this. Tell me in the comments below. And be sure to like and subscribe, and hopefully there will be another one next week. I'll see you next time.